how do you know there's so much fear in the world now? People are just filled with that, and whether it's about their debts, the economy, whether it's about the government, the terrorists, it's just everywhere. But I would like to share about a time that I was delivered from the spirit of fear, because fear is the same as far as where it is now and then. It's still the same spirit. But there was a time in my life I had been saved, and I still had one foot in the world. And so it was easier to walk there than it was to walk with the Lord at that time. And so I was drinking a lot. I wasn't going to church anymore. But I would really feel sad about life, about the way my life was. And I just knew that it wasn't right. And then the fear was overwhelming. It just kept getting worse and worse. Sometimes I would sit with drapes completely closed in the house, so it'd be kind of dark and no one could see. And it was very powerful spirit that was controlling me. And I was drinking a lot, and I would sometimes drive up to the church that I used to go to. It had 3 crosses on top. And I would sit in front of that church, look at those crosses, and cry and cry and cry, not even knowing why I was doing it, you know. And through a friend that used to go to that church there also, she told me about this little spirit-filled church. She says, you ought to try it, Jeanette. And so I started going there. And maybe it was about 2 months later that I had this experience with that spirit of fear in the bedroom and all. And at the same time, there was an evangelist there at that church. And it was his last night there. And he was an evangelist that would give people scriptures over whatever was going on in their lives. And he called me up front and started praying for me. And they were all, the congregation was praying for me. And I was crying and crying and crying. And he gave me 3 scriptures about fear. And the next day, I woke up and I was so filled with joy. The fear was gone. I was completely delivered. The fear was gone. And I was so full of joy. I just could hardly not contain it. I didn't know what to do. It was just bubbling over. But I would get on my knees and pray. And I had this sense something wasn't right. It was like a crying inside, and I had never felt anything like that before. So I said, God, what is it? What do you want from me? And the only thing I could think of was that cigarettes, because I was smoking 2 or 3 packs a day, and I had tried to quit many times but couldn't. So I went on about what my housekeeping and doing that kind of thing, and this crying started again, and I, God, what is it? And I knew it was the cigarettes then. So I said, okay, I'll have 1 more cigarette, and that crying again. So I picked up the pack of cigarettes and I threw them across the room. I said, okay. And this feeling rose up inside of me. And I knew at that point that I would never, ever want a cigarette again. And it was funny also, I had to go for a lung x-ray for something shortly after that. My lungs were completely cleared. Nothing at all there. The Lord had completely delivered me from spirit of fear, had filled me with his joy, and made my life new. So anyone who is going through fear, the Lord can deliver you. There is hope in the Lord.